Hello and welcome to the third part of the East Asia week at EU5, the game that we're all incredibly hyped about. Without going too much into it, subscribe to the channel. I do videos on EU5 all the bloody time. I'm going to continue doing it, and you should subscribe. Anyway, isn't this art really lovely? I really quite enjoy this. This is very peaceful. It's very nice. It's very much fitting with the themes that we're going to be talking about today. I love it. That's fantastic. But anyway, today we are going to be talking about two things: the Shinto religion and the shogunate. So, yeah, basically, how does Japan play? How do we work in Japan, and what are the mechanics of Japan? And of course, on Friday we're going to get the flavor diary for Japan as well, which is going to be another one that people are, I assume, very much looking forward to. I know I am. Anyway, let us get into talking firstly about the Shinto religion. In EU5, it is a part of the Buddhist religious group, giving extra 10% literacy, get tolerance of heretics and heathens. You're allowed to build monasteries. These are generic monasteries, not unique ones. You also get a couple of things. You get purity and you get honor, two different mechanics that we're going to talk about in a moment. You also allow religious factions. There's 146 countries following the Shinto faith. That means there's 146 playable nations on the island of Japan, or islands of Japan. Ashikaga Shogunate being obviously the top dog, and then we've got all the various clans, and also the couple of courts. The diverse set of beliefs and practices revolving around kami worship that were present in Japan before the arrival of Buddhism got intrinsically tied and blended with Buddhist practices and concepts as Buddhism spread through Japan. The kami and Buddhist deities were identified with one another, with both sets of beliefs becoming functionally inseparable. This gave rise to a particularly Japanese flavor of Buddhism, blended with a Buddhism-influenced kami worship. Very cool. So we have our religion tab here, showing our basic doodads, how much religious unity we have, etc. And also we see that Shinto has 19 holy sites, which is very cool. Down here we can see that we currently have no honor, very dishonorable. And we also are at 50 purity. What these mean, we don't know yet. We have a few religious actions. We have cleansing ritual, pilgrimage, religious offering, and committing seppuku. Very much, yeah. I think a cleansing ritual, I can understand what that might be. A pilgrimage, I can understand what that might be. Religious offering, I can understand what that might be. Of these, I don't know what the bonuses are going to be. I don't know what mechanically it's going to do to your game. I feel like I know what this one's going to do. I feel like this one's is pretty obvious what this one's going to do. But anyway, we'll move on. As you can see, Shinto has two currencies, honor and purity. Besides being modified through events and the actions we'll talk about in a bit, one thing to note is that fighting in battles will decrease your purity due to the fact that blood is considered impure, and I guess you're spilling it and becoming tainted with blood. Having high purity will allow the accumulation of honor, which will be able to be used for other actions, while having low purity would make people perceive you as an oni on Earth, which may also have its benefits. So, 50 purity is what you start with. It means you're getting +1 monthly honor. If you have 75 purity, you get +1, and that scales as well. If you are below 25 purity, your estates don't like that very much. The peasants, however, do like it, and you lose monthly honor. And also you get +20 army initiative, which is a really powerful modifier. Essentially, when you get into a battle, initiative determines whether your troops actually get into the battle itself instead of starting the battle in the reserves. And if you manage to get your troops to roll high enough to get initiative and start the battle, and your enemy doesn't, you're going to be doing morale damage to them without taking any losses. So initiative is a huge, huge modifier. And that also scales with purity as well. So I imagine when you are at like 0 purity, this is going to be even higher. Low purity for war, high purity for honor, and whatever you can do with honor. We'll find out in a bit. The different actions in the panel are ways of regaining purity, from the more simple ones of spending prestige or money for a cleansing ritual or pilgrimage respectively. Okay. So that's how you regain purity. That's fine. More expensive ones offering a work of art, or even the life of a ruler. So obviously this one is the seppuku. Besides these actions, the religion also features an international organization, very nice, where countries can interact with the different factions present there. At the start, there are 3 factions present. We have the Imperial Court, the Shogunate Court, and the religious sects, although more factions can appear in the future related to some other religious followers. Each faction has some actions available at the cost of honor, although not all the factions will be available to all countries. For example, if you're at war with the current shogun, you'll not be able to access the actions of the Shogunate Court, for obvious reasons. Makes sense. Fair enough. And obviously we have a bunch of laws and such that will be happening as well that you'll have for your IO, I assume. But here are the actions we've got for Imperial Court. You can authorization for expansion, so I guess allowing the Daimyo to go to war with one another, I imagine. Becoming a shogun for 100 is certainly a thing. And this is in the Shinto IO. This is not the Shogunate IO, which is, another thing. So becoming shogun via the Shinto IO means that I guess that is maybe the only way to do it. You can't be a different religion becoming shogun. And, like, the religion and the shogunate mechanics are, I guess, intrinsically linked. With the Shogunate Court, you can appease the elites, increase your levies, increase your tax income, and demand extra payment. Fair enough. For the religious sects, increasing literacy, appeasing the temples, favoring the Buddhist schools, favoring the kami worship, or keep them in balance. So, authorization for expansion. We get the Expand Clan Authority Casus Belli on one of our neighbors' provinces. Very cool. Exactly what we thought it was going to be. Demand extra payment, get some money, and get some manpower. Okay. This, look, it's already controversial. There's, people don't like free manpower, especially. Free money, people generally are fine with. In events and in button clicks, people have generally reacted very negatively towards getting manpower in this way. We don't know how much manpower this is, because, I mean, you can see it's 273, but generally these kinds of events are giving you a percentage of your monthly manpower income or your yearly manpower income, and we don't know what country it is being played when this tooltip is popping up, so we don't know if this is like a large amount or a small amount. We just don't know. But I don't know. I'm generally fine with this kind of thing, as manpower isn't pops yet. Like, manpower is like the potential to reinforce troops, but when those troops die, that's still your pops dying, it's not just the manpower dying. Appeasement of the temples increases your clergy satisfaction, makes sense. Some of the actions of the religious sects will allow the country to interact with the mechanics of other Buddhist religions, but you have to wait for future Shinto talks for an explanation on those. Shinto also gives access to some unique advances, like, for example, Matsuri, which increases your peasants' satisfaction. We have the Nanto Rokushu, giving max literacy for the clergy. 10% is actually quite a hefty amount. We also have, in the Age of Renaissance, the Shinbutsu Shugo, giving tolerance of heretical beliefs. The Kagura, giving some cultural tradition, really good modifier there. And Hachiman worship, giving army tradition from battles plus 50%. Fantastic. But let's move on to the Shogunate. It's present in the game, again, as an international organization. So, Shinto has its international organization, and within the Shinto international organization, you can request to become the shogun. The shogunate itself is also a separate international organization. Like I said, these things are intrinsically linked, and I guess it just made more sense to have them separated into 2 different IOs than have them both in one and maybe be a little bit too bloated at that point. But every single one of the shogun itself, the courts, and all of the daimyo are all in both of these IOs. So, doesn't really make too much difference. I suppose if you are an expansionist shogun, or, I mean, whoever you end up playing, and you have, say, you're making Korean vassals, potentially, you may be able to, convert Korea to Shinto, perhaps, and then they would be a part of the Shinto thing without being a part of the shogunate. But, maybe then they can become a part of the I don't know. but I'm just kind of theory crafting here and trying to think of the reason why we'd have separate international organizations. But anyway, you get a couple of policies, appointed posts, and open the country. I guess you can choose which one. Actually, no, these are the ones that are in effect out of the rest of the ones that you can look at. Leader is getting some great power score. Being a member means that you cannot become a kingdom. You give food access to other members. This is a dangerous one. Giving food access to other members means that essentially, if I am in, I suppose it doesn't matter so much because of the fact that there is what's called a single market for the entirety of the island. But this is a dangerous modifier in other cases because say I am playing as Genoa, and I really want to mess with Naples. I can ally him, and then ask him for food access, and then take my army and march it or sail it into Naples, and then my army will take all of the food from Naples. And I don't know if there's anything that Naples can do about it. I'm pretty sure the AI won't, like, do anything about it. I don't know. Maybe if the market is running out of food, they will cancel all food access requests. That actually probably would work pretty nicely. But yeah, it's a dangerous modifier. It is a dangerous not modifier. It's a dangerous mechanic. But anyway, we have here 146 members again. Of course, the lands of Japan have been for long immersed in a complex political structure. The lands of Japan have been for long immersed in a complex political structure. It's not just me. This is just really weirdly written. I don't know. It feels weird to say it that way. Despite the emperor being the titular leader of the nation, the actual rule has been for centuries in the hands of the shogun, and he has been, for some periods, replaced by a regent. The different clans live in a constant struggle for supremacy and authority over the land of the rising sun. So here we have Shogun Takauji Ashikaga. He is the current leader of the shogunate. We have two Tenno. I know very little about Japanese political structure in the shogunate period. I'm quite ignorant of it. I have watched the TV show Shogun, and I have played Japan in EU4, and I've played a little bit of Total War Shogun 2. That's generally my only kind of exposure to it. So if I don't know what a Tenno is, or if I forget again the name of the Daimyo or misspell it, that's the thing that may happen. But here we can see we got 35 Shugo daimyos and then 146 members. I don't know what the difference. Well, I guess the difference is these guys are Shugo daimyos and these guys are just members. But I was of the thought that all of the building-based countries within Japan were all daimyo. But I guess that's not the case. So it would be nice if somebody, or maybe, this dev diary will tell me what it is to be just a member, what it is to be not the shogun, not the court. I assume that these are Tenno are the courts. What it means to be one of these guys and not one of these. There's currently a bug with the ruler's name not appearing in the proper order. It will be fixed. Okay, fair enough. There are two types of special statues. It is statues. Yeah, it is statues. I don't know why. Why is it called a statuses? I think it's probably statuses. State high. Whatever. There is the Sugo and the Emperor, or Emperors in this case, more than on Friday. The Emperor is the one that technically is the ruler of Japan, although the one actually in charge is the Shogun, while the Shugo are provincial governors, giving them some nice bonuses of tax efficiency, monthly legitimacy, and efficiency of the cabinet. Amazing modifier. There is an action for the Shogun to either grant or revoke the governorship of a province, while the individual clans... Okay, they're clan. These guys are clans. I thought a clan and a daimyo was the same thing. Again, my own ignorance. I'm learning here. It is what it is. And the individual clans also have the option of basically becoming de facto Shugo if they manage to establish enough presence in a particular province. Very nice. As the shogun, the shogun person can revoke a law, grant Shugo offices, revoke Shugo offices, or claim Shugo offices. And again, like I said, there are various laws that you can appoint as well. However, these actions will only be available as long as the shogunate itself has the appropriate law, and will be disabled once it centralizes control. So we have the clan residence law here, enables those actions. It lets the leader change policy cost minus 5%, gives them a bit of legitimacy. And if you are not the leader of the shogunate, declaring war costs a little bit more stability, and you get a little bit of prestige. Being a clan resident allows the following policies of appointed posts, established domains, and Sankin Kotai. I don't know why there is an exclamation mark there. I guess we'll find out, maybe, hopefully. Becoming the leader of the shogunate is something that is not granted, and it instead has to be earned. The first step to take is to obtain the backing of the Imperial Court, with the action becoming shogun of the Imperial Court faction in the Shinto IO, which is what we saw earlier. So yeah, this is a part of the Shinto IO, that's that. It takes 100 honor, and then you become the shogun. Very cool. This will grant a modifier directly to the ruler, not the country, and a casus belli to declare war on the current leader of the shogunate. If the war is declared and won while still having the same ruler, a special peace treaty can be enacted, forcing the change of leadership. And unfortunately, that's all. I feel like this was kind of short. I kind of wanted to learn more about how all of this worked. Especially the fact that we got 2 whole IOs. I still feel quite ignorant of what's going on. Tomorrow we're going to have Behind the Music of EU5, so I highly recommend you watch that one. It is... The music in EU5 I have really enjoyed so far. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to have it as the backing track for these videos yet. Hopefully at some point in the future we'll be able to start doing that. But I do have it just as a playlist in my own files, and I do occasionally just listen to it just because I really enjoy it. There's a lot of interesting things, let's say, when it comes to the music that we learned when we were in SIEZE. And yeah, no, you're going to enjoy this one, I'm sure of it. Then on Friday, we have more flavor content for Japan and the Japanese clans, as well as the situation of the Nanbokchuo and the Sengoku Jidai. This is basically the end of the East Asia week. I think it's going to be a really good one. I hope to enjoy it as much as you guys. Tomorrow, I'm going to release the second part of the tier list that I was making, so you should check that out. But before we head off, of course, there is a few comments to take a look at. So, firstly, are purity and honor general Buddhist currencies or just Shinto? They are specifically Shinto. Of course, remember that Shinto is a part of the Buddhist group. Does the instant max manpower and gold from demand extra payment to Shogunate honor actually come from the Ashikaga stockpiles, or is it generated from nowhere? It is abstracted, giving extra tax and manpower generation for a while. I don't know if I agree with this explanation, because it's not generation. It's very specifically just giving a flat amount of duckies and manpower. That's not generation. That's just... it's just a flat basic amount. So I definitely disagree. I don't think that's what these disagrees are for, though. I think these disagrees are for, we don't like instant gratification buttons that give manpower, essentially. I get that we can become a shogun, but is there a way to depose the emperor and install our own family as one? We will learn about that on Friday. How expensive is it to make an overly powerful daimyo to off themselves, so the seppuku? Does it lead to revolts? There is no option to force another country's ruler to commit seppuku. I almost said Sudoku. Is there a price for it? There is. There is a large stability hit. Very nice. So I guess if you have a really bad ruler, you can get a new one if you are willing to pay the stability hit. Love the current iteration of Shinto. Not sure about the losing purity because you fight, but otherwise looks quite amazing. It's because blood is impure, and if you spill blood, you get tainted. Fair enough. Do you gain or lose honor from accepting or declining an ally's call to arms? No. I'm understanding why this is here. I don't understand why that's not the case. It would make sense to me. It would be logical if it was the case, but apparently not. Will it be possible to play as the Emperor and restore Imperial power? Yes, although it won't be easy. That'll be a fun attempt, I think. And I think for this, you might have to play as the Imperial Court rather than the Shogunate or any of the clans or anything like that. So that'd be kind of fun. And finally, does that mean there is a Shinto IO different from the Shogunate IO? So a country could be Shinto but not part of the Shogunate, or vice versa. If there's any examples of it. There are 2 different IOs, as we already said, although at the start, all of the countries are present in both of them. Alright, that is your lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, and if you are not already, please subscribe to the channel. I would really enjoy that. It would make me happy. Bye!